Okay. So you said you have how many primary? How many standby?
So you have at least 2 or 3 standby, and you have one
Okay.
primary. And primary goes on like which
Okay.
one standby is going to be the next primary.
Okay. You want to know which one will be the standby? The new primary, if the first one fails.
Correct.
Okay. So myself personally, I can easily find out when I log into the broker. I'll be talking about the broker a little bit today. The broker is a tool you use to monitor data guide environment. So from the broker, if I log into the broker, I just issue show configuration, and from there it's easily identify the primary and all the standby. It will be easier for me from the data guide broker. And from the command line, okay, unless you want to go one database at a time, by querying the data, the select name open mode database underscore role from Visual database, okay, doing it on all the servers, you can identify them. You can identify which one is the primary, the actual primary, and which one are the standby. So that can be the hard way. But me, 1 second, 2 seconds, when I log into the broker, I will know that easily. Okay? Does it make sense what I just?
No, I don't quite understand.
Okay. What's happening is that we have 2 ways of monitoring data guard environment. You can monitor, I'm saying monitor from the command line because you can monitor using graphical user interfaces like OEM, okay? But if you are on the command line at the operating system level, because from OEM is easy, but if you are at the OS level, okay, and you want to easily identify which one is the primary for the standby, most of the time, and I can tell you more than 99.9% of the time, where I've seen somebody work with data guard, they always have a tool called data guard broker. That's a tool we use, we configure to monitor the data guard environment. And I think it's one of the assignment, the question of the assignment. So that tool, from that tool, the DBA can easily identify what is the issue, and the DBA can easily identify the standby in the data guard environment, the primary, and also from that tool, the DBA can easily perform failover, switchover operations, or also configure additional standby. If maybe you had 2 standby, you want to configure a third one, a fourth one, it's easy. It's easier to perform it from the broker. So as I was saying, I don't care whether the primary already failed. Okay. Once the primary fails and maybe we had a failover activity that took place, if it was done automatically for you, you can log into the broker, and from the broker, we help you to identify the new primary and the standby. So from the broker, you have just a few commands. Show configuration, that's the easiest command you can type there. By issuing show configuration, if you want more information, you can put variables, but show configuration is enough. So once you log into the broker, you issue show configuration, immediately it will tell you the actual status of the data guard. It tell you actually which one is the new primary, which one is the new standby, which one are the standby, which one is the primary. Is there any log gap actually? Is there any error? Okay. Also, it can also show you some metrics. Okay. But just right from there, it's easier for you to identify the primary and the standby. Right from there. So it's easier to log into the broker. Once your classmate will configure, once you guys will configure, you will see that to log in for the broker, you just have to issue command like ggmgrl. Oh.
Okay, so it can be done automatically, and it can be done manually too.
Yes, it can be done from OEM. It can also be done from the broker. So somebody just do like this, log into the broker. Once you guys configure it at the OS level, you will just log in to the broker by issuing this command like this, And once you are logged into the broker, it will look like something like this. And you will just issue show configuration. And that's it. By doing this, it will tell you the primary, the standby, and it will tell you if there's any error, anything, just with this command. That's it. Does it make sense?
Yes, thanks.
No problem. Question?
Yes. Hi, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me if I don't really understand the concept, but I just wanted some clarification. Last class, you mentioned that we will now be doing our backups from the standby database. So I wanted to know, is this just here in school, or does this also apply to like work?
All my companies where I work for, or where I'm actually working, all the backup are taken from the standby.
Okay, then if so, from the different protection modes, like the maximum protection, the availability, maximum availability, appears that there could be some data loss. So I'm just wondering, why would taking backups from the standby be the best practice?
Yes, we always make sure that. Can one of you mute if you are using two devices, mute the other one, because it's like I'm echoing. So yes, before a backup is taken, okay, if the backup will fail, okay, the backup will fail if there are some missing archive log on the standby database side. That is one of the major steps. So I remember I will display to you guys that's in that example by the end of this project, and I will show you one example of the ticket like that. So what was the issue? So sometimes, because Alma will take the backup from the, you back up the data is finding from the archive logs, okay? So it will back up this data. So if Alman notices that there are some data missing here, but that are found in the primary but are missing from the standby, this backup will fail. Okay, it must say now that is what happens every time we have backup failures. It means the data guard, the environment is not working properly. So for our backup to succeed, they have to be in sync. If something is missing from the standby, our backup will fail. So it's configured such a way that Alma will always check the stages of the archive log on the primary, the stages of the archive log on the standby before completing the backup. Alma will not just care about this, okay? Alma will try to check if they are in sync before Alma takes the backup. If there's a gap, Alma will fail, take the backup, okay? That's how it works most of the time. So in another scenario, most of the time you fail again if there's a missing archive log that Alman cannot find either here or on the primary. In that scenario, you have to resolve the issue and initiate the backup manually yourself. And that's something we have done frequently. Let me take an example. Our backup run every.
Please, Gaeta, you are breaking. We cannot hear you well.
I think our backup runs every, is it? Because they're really fast. They're really fast.
Zatan.
Backup. They run every.
Please, can you check your connection? Like you're breaking a lot.
Yeah, you're breaking.
Now you're completely gone.
Okay. So I was talking about the backup, and I was saying our backup personally run, I think, something after midnight.
It's like he's not even hearing all. Mr. Gaida.
Yes.
You're breaking a lot. We can't get you.
You're breaking.
I feel like he's not getting what we are saying.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, please let me know if having network issues. Sometimes you need to reboot that stuff. Okay, so I was talking about backups, okay, and one of your classmates asked me if they are not in sync, how will ARMA behave? And I was saying that backup are taken on the standby. This backup, for us, that's our personal example. For this backup to succeed, this backup always check whether the primary and the standby is sync. So the backup, ARMA will not just care about the standby. ARMA will also care whether whatever is on the primary or is also found on the standby before the backup is taken. If the backup fails, it means something wrong with the data guard configuration. For instance, multiple times our backup failed because either the MRP went down, okay, and because the MRP went down, the amount of redo here was different from the amount of redo here, okay, and our backup failed. And whenever it failed like that, you come and fix the issue. Immediately, the issue will be resolved. And after, you can take the backup manually yourself. So ARMA will not just care about, the standby, but ARMA will care whether the standby and the primary are in sync or whether there's an archive lock missing here that is found on the primary, okay, before ARMA can proceed with the backup. So I don't care about the protection mode. Whenever I was having that type of ticket in Oracle, I was in maximum performance. So if you remember well, maximum performance ensures less data security than other protection mode. So that means it is async, no affirm. So it was more likely for us to have primary and standby not in sync. Our backup failed multiple times because maybe the wallet is corrupted, the password file is corrupted, maybe the MRP went down. We have multiple scenarios like that. And because wallet corrupted, whatever corrupted was preventing the primary from shipping the lock to the standby directly, backup was failing. So most of the time, after we resolve the issue, maybe by exporting back the wallet to the standby, or maybe by recreating the password file on the primary and copying it across the server to the standby, or maybe by restarting back the MRP. After you resolve the data guard issue and the lock are moving normally, you can now perform the backup manually. So whatever was before, okay, you can launch it manually if it's possible for you to do that at that time, or you can do it later on. All right. So just to let you know that backup, ARMA will always check the primary and the standby before performing the backup to make sure that you don't have data loss.
Okay, so this will also apply to each and every standby you have.
Yes, ARMA will just care about the primary and that standby. If you have 2 standby, all right, 2 standby, 3 standby, the backup is taken only from 1 standby. ARMA backup from standby number 2, standby number 3. Just from that standby, you will take ARMA backup. And ARMA will take the primary and the standby where you are taking the backup. Okay? This is valid for physical, logical standby and active standby as well. Standby.
Okay, thank you.
Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Good.
Excuse me, sir. Did you say Armon would confirm the primary and then complete the backup on the other standby also?
Yes, active standby, logical standby. Any type of standby where you can take the backup from, they work.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I was able to create the primary and the standby database, and when I try to log in as I try to actually I bring up another new PUDI, right? I log in now, like I want to connect now to the primary database as an application, as a client, sorry. So I was unable. I actually connected, but it shows that I was connected to the standby database instead of the primary database.
How did you connect?
How did I connect?
Mm.
Okay, I pull up a new PuDI, and I don't know if I can show it.
How do you pull out a new PuDI?
Okay, let me just show you real quick.
I do work it before we.
Okay. So now let me use PuDI.
Where are you?
I'm in PuDI. Okay. I use about 11G. So I pull up a new PuDI like this. So I export.
Mm-hmm.
So I set to primary. Then I connect now. Now the listener is not waiting. But that was how I connect. So I connected and I tried to see the database I'm connected to. It shows that I was connected to standby instead of primary.
How?
The way I just did, I opened a new PuDI, then I connected as SYS. Then I stated that I should be connected to the primary database. But by default, I was being connected to the standby instead of the primary database.
It can't be like that by default. So you have to check that. The user, see what happens. Once somebody wants to connect, you need, as an application user, you need some information. You always need a host name. Okay, so it means that the reality is that the primary and the standby in real environment will never be on your own server. So they'll be on different server. So it means that the host name will be different. So the application team needs the host name. They need the port of that standby. If the port is the same, it's okay. If they can be different, depends on the firewall rule and whatever. Okay, the network security team, if they decided to open which port on the standby server or 1521, it depends on which port is open. But they use the host name, the protocol, the port, and the service name. And the service, when you configure DataGuard, we will create a service. I don't want to talk about too much about the service now, but we will create a service on the primary that will run on any primary. So that service is dedicated to run only on primary. So when they will try to connect, they will connect only to the primary server. So they cannot even mistakenly connect to the standby because, first of all, on the standby side, the host name will be different. And the service can be dedicated to run only on that.
Okay, so sir, this is what I was talking about. Physical standby.
And what is the primary? You configure that on your same server, right?
I actually use one of my client, actually one of my student server, one of my clients.
Okay. 174 is who?
174 is me.
That's normal. That's why you see physical standby, because you choose yourself as a standby. This is a standby. This is you. Who was the primary? Who was the standby?
I was a primary, and the other number was a standby.
Okay, when you log into the other person's server, it's showing primary or standby.
It still shows the same thing, physical standby.
So for you, physical standby, for him, physical standby?
Yes.
So there's no primary?
Yes, I was unable to even connect to the main primary.
So there's something wrong somewhere, right? So you fell somewhere. I can just tell you that one. In the configuration. Correct? You fail in the configuration because you should always have one showing as primary and another one showing as standby. Okay, it's impossible to have two as physical standby. So we will check that next Wednesday, since today's session is to round up this. If you don't figure out the issue, I will tell you exactly what went wrong on your configuration by Wednesday.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, no problem. Looks like I'm having a very bad network today. I need to reboot maybe the computer. So if, please, you cannot hear me, let me know. It looks like maybe my network is not that good. So. Okay, any question? Any question for me? Jury, something was not that okay, or?
Yes, can you please explain what slide is that? It should be maybe slide 14, not 12. Yeah, the data guide protection. Can you please explain it again? Throw some more light on it, please.
Okay. So I was saying the data guide, you decide to configure, you can decide to configure 3 types of protection mode. The default one is the maximum performance. Okay, so if you don't, when you are configuring data guide, by default, Oracle consider this as the default protection mode. So maximum performance, is async and no affirm. What does it mean? It means that we don't want to affect the performance of our production database at any time. So it means that once the production database, a user perform a GML, you guys know the redo will go to the redo log buffer. The log writer will write a copy here, and if it's archive log mode, the archival process will write it after the redo log group became active. And also, whenever the redo is either here on the redo log buffer or the online redo log file, the LNS process captures it, a copy of it, sent to the RFS, the RFS writes here, and the MRP can pick up either from here or from here. So that is the normal procedure of how the logs, okay, the log transit, how does it move from the primary to the standby. But now, in the maximum performance mode, okay, after a user issue a commit, normally a commit, whenever somebody issues commit, as I explained to you guys on architecture, when I issue a commit from the buffer cache, normally what happened? The log writer is supposed to write the redo from the redo log buffer to the online redo log file. And once you write it, a feedback should be sent back to the to the server process that is running in the instance, and the server process should return the feedback to the user. That is why you can see on your body commit completed. So now, normally, with the maximum performance mode, after the user issue commits, immediately the transaction will be committed. So Oracle will not have to wait till the RFS process confirm that the redo has been applied to the standby. Remember, the redo was sent before you issue commit. So if that redo, maybe if the redo is applied to the standby, it's good. The transaction will commit from the primary. So if any user here issue commits, the transaction will be committed without any issue. If the redo that was sent across the network is not applied to the standby for any reason, it can be network issue, it can be process down, it can be corruption issue. If the redo is not applied to the standby, the primary will still not care about it. Transaction on the primary database will still commit. User can still commit their transaction. So it means that with maximum performance, the production database doesn't care about whether the redo has been applied to at least one standby or not. So that's why you can see that it's more likely for you to have async issues because they might not be in sync, simply because the production can work asynchronously with the standby. Okay, so it's very possible for the production to function. And why do we do that? Because we don't want to affect the performance of our production. We don't want our production to get delayed just because a redo has not been applied to the standby yet or any other issue. We want the production to function as it used to before, okay? We don't want it to be affected because I configure data guard environment. So as soon as somebody issue commit here, the commit will get completed. So as soon as the log writer can write from the log buffer to the log file, the commit will get completed. The production doesn't care about anything here. That's why performance is async and no affirm. Because async, no affirm, async means they may not be in sync. And no affirm means the production doesn't care about whether the RFS came and confirmed that the redo has been applied. Because the RFS should be the one to come and confirm. After the redo travels and is applied to the standby, the RFS should be the one to tell the production that the redo has been applied to the standby successfully. So if the production doesn't receive an acknowledgement from the RFS, it doesn't care about it. So if the RFS comes back or doesn't come back, it's still fine. The production will keep on working. That's why the maximum performance mode, it is async, no affirm. And most of you will say, oh, I will never choose this one. But I can tell you most companies use maximum performance. A lot of companies I know use maximum performance. Just because okay, if my standby failed, the lock is not shipped. We already set up some monitoring tools to detect lock gap issues and send a ticket to somebody. So as soon as you have a huge gap, somebody will get notified in your team. Automatically, they will come and resolve. The data gap broker, along with the observer, will detect the issue and will create a ticket or send an email to you, depending on how you configure, okay, the broker with the OEM or your mailing system. So it means if somebody will be notified, we get notified to come and resolve it. But we don't want the primary to be affected because there's an issue with the data guard environment. So we want to maximize the performance of our primary database. So that is valid for some applications that have a lot of GML operations perform on those. This type of application, because we have a lot of users accessing the database, performing transactions. We don't want those transactions to get delayed because of the data guard environment. So if the data guard is working or is not working, we don't care about it. We don't want the performance of our production to get affected. Okay, that is why we have maximum performance. That's the default one. Now the second one is maximum availability. Now it's no longer async and no affirm. No, now it's sync. Maximum performance was async, no affirm. But availability is sync, affirm. Now, in this scenario, the production will care about the redo that was, okay, the redo shipped from the primary to the standby. The production will keep track of it. So as soon as you perform a GML, the LNS will capture and send it as well. Now, once you want to commit the transaction, the production will have to confirm any acknowledgement, from the RFS. So the RFS has to come and let the production know that the redo that was shipped to the standby has been applied before any transaction here can commit. So you see that the commit time can be affected. The lock writing time can be affected because the transaction will commit only the RFS acknowledge that the redo has been applied to the standby. If the RFS doesn't acknowledge that, the user's transaction has to wait till the RFS comes and confirm. So that transaction will get delayed just because of the RFS. Now, maximum availability will not tolerate that for a very long period of time. So we have another parameter called net timeout. So once we set the net timeout value, by default, I think it's 300 seconds. So after the net timeout, the primary will stop waiting. So it has been waiting. Let's assume the net timeout is 10 seconds. Okay. So the primary transaction will wait for 10 seconds. But after the 10 seconds, transaction will no longer wait. So the production caring about any acknowledgement coming from the RFS. In this scenario now, the primary database will start working as it was in the maximum performance mode. So it will no longer care about any synchronization. Whether they are in sync or they are not in sync, the primary will no longer care about it because it has waited. Okay? Give me 1 second, please. I think Mr. Brendan is calling me. I wonder if he's in the class. Hello, sir? Very, very important for you. Was I answering a question? Yes, somebody asked me protection mode, and I think I was explaining,
Yes.
I always explain maximum performance, and I was explaining maximum availability, and I said that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I thought somebody interrupted me. So I was explaining maximum availability, and I said that maximum availability, the production now will care about, that if you issue a GML and the redo is applied to the, what's wrong?
You're breaking again.
Again, if you, am I breaking? Am I still breaking? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you are breaking a lot.
Okay. Okay, give me some time. Give me the internet box, so maybe it can take a couple of minutes. But I was trying to explain protection mode, okay, and I already explained the maximum performance. Now I was explaining the maximum availability, and I was saying that with the maximum availability, the production, now we care about the redo being applied to the standby. So if the redo is not applied to the standby and the RFS did not confirm, okay, it did not give any acknowledgement to the production, all the transaction on the production will not commit, okay, they will not commit till the RFS comes and confirm. Okay, so the production will wait till the RFS will come and give an acknowledgement that the redo lock has been applied to the standby. So you can now see that this one is prioritizing the availability of the data because it wants to make sure that the data is also found on the standby. But it doesn't prioritize the performance of the production because imagine the production has to wait. So it means the production will wait some time before the RFS can come. If the RFS take a couple of seconds, the production will wait. Transaction and the production will wait. They won't be committed till the RFS comes and confirm. But now what happens is, for the maximum availability, you will not stay like that. You will not just stay like that. Let's assume you have, a blockage, something happened on the standby. That okay, for any reason, the redo couldn't be applied to the standby database. Maybe network or maybe space issues, maybe data corruption issues, maybe MRP issues. Okay, and it's taking too long. So now we have a parameter we set for that. Okay, net timeout. And that parameter now can limit the wait time. It's like a threshold. So if the production, we wait up to that time. If it's taking longer, more than the timeout, okay, then the production will keep on functioning as it was a maximum performance. So it means that the production will no longer care about whether the primary and the standby are in sync or whether the RFS came and confirmed that the redo has been applied to at least one of the standby. So you can see now in this scenario, okay, the performance of the database can be affected, but at some point we will try to ensure the availability of the data both from the primary and from the standby. Okay, but that will not last forever. Okay, so that is maximum availability. And the last one is maximum protection. And in the maximum protection mode now, we have now the same scenario as maximum availability. But the difference is that it's recommended to have a maximum protection with high, a very powerful network. And also, you also have to make sure that it's recommended to have at least 2 standby. Why? Because we want to make sure that if the primary is delaying to be in sync with one standby, at least it can be in sync with the other one. Because if the primary is not in sync with the standby, and the standby is and the RFA is taking longer to come and confirm or acknowledge that the redo has been applied to at least one of the standby, the production will go down. So the production will crash. So you see now in this scenario, maximum protection does not tolerate data loss. It doesn't tolerate the production and the standby to be async. They should be in sync. It doesn't tolerate. Maximum availability tolerates, right? After the net timeout, if they are not in sync, after the timeout, it will keep on functioning as it was maximum performance. So it will no longer care about, the production and the standby in sync, to be in sync. But maximum protection cares about it. If the production is not in sync with at least one of the standby, it's preferable for the production to go down. So that's why I haven't seen yet environment with maximum protection. I haven't seen, I can tell you the truth, but I've worked both with availability and performance, because that's what I've been exposed to. Okay, and that's what I'm still exposed to availability now. I was mainly exposed with performance before, but now I'm highly exposed with availability. So I think it makes sense. I think, I hope you understood what I just said. Does it make sense to you now? Let you ask a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, Gaetan. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm trying to access my computer, guys. Sorry. Any other question while I'm trying to access my laptop? Any question, guys?
So, sir,
Yes, sir.
yeah, let me ask this question. I don't know if it will make sense though. When I like you said, I should use the classmate server, and if I use it, will I be able to, like, if I connect, will I be able to query the data and see it? I'm saying if the user connect to the database, guys. Yes, will I be able to perform a DML?
From where?
From the primary database.
Sure, of course. Why not?
Using another server?
What do you mean by another server? So that means you are connected to a different server, and that server is a primary or what?
Yes, I'm connected to one. Actually, I converted my own server as a primary, and the other one is a standby. So I'm asking if I use a standby and connect to the primary database, will I be able to issue a DML statement?
So if you connect now to the primary,
yes.
Normally on the primary, you should be able to do whatever you have been doing so far on any database in the past.
Yes, but now I'm saying I'm connected using another one server.
It's fine.
Yes.
So your primary now is residing on a different server.
Yes.
If it's not your server and it's someone else's server, that is a primary. It's fine. You can still perform GML. Whenever you see primary,
yes.
It means it's read-write, open in read-write.
Okay.
So you can do whatever you want to. It's the standby that you will see more likely can be mounted for you guys, or open read-only if you decided to configure active. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you select the open mode and database underscore role, and you see primary there, you will see that more likely the open mode will be read-write. So you can perform GML. I don't care whether the primary is on your server or a classmate server, it will work. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Good. All right, any other question? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I had to read the other one. Let me disconnect from the other one. Another question?
So what about the assignment?
Yeah, I gave an assignment. Yes, thank you. Who worked on it? The question was, let me share the screen. I think the benefit of standby Hadoop logs.
Bello, answer now.
That was an assignment. It wasn't for me, Mama Anita.
But you know.
No, I don't.
Work on the assignment.
Say that again, Gaetan. What was the question?
Who worked on the assignment? Who found something? The benefit of standby redo.
So, can I try?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Let me say the purpose of converting the standby redo, we are enabling the log writer to write. We are enabling the log writer to write in the standby database another redo. Like it's multiplexing. The log writer is multiplexing. It's writing from the primary designated directory, and it's also working. It's also writing to the standby directory. So that's the purpose of converting it. And one of the advantages is that when we switch over, right? In the event of switching over, actually I don't even see that as an advantage, because I really don't see it as an advantage. It won't count.
Okay. Okay, so you are saying that this log writer is able to write to cross the network and write here as well. Is what you mean?
Okay, so when we are in the primary area, in the primary database, we alter database archive. Actually, we cause a checkpoint. Two redo logs will be generated, and one of the redo logs will be written to the standby redo.
Redo. So the same redo is generated twice. Is what you mean?
The same archive logs. I don't know if I'm confusing, but yeah, the same archive logs.
It's generated twice by Oracle?
Yes.
Where do you see that one? Is what you're thinking of? You are thinking that way, or you read it somewhere?
So I actually tried it, and it worked. But when I was connected to the primary, I switched logs. So I saw that two archive logs were generated. Unlike if I didn't enable the standby redo logs, the parameter.
If they can use to standby redo log or whatever, because maybe a group has multiple members, okay? But only one redo is generated, but what happens is a copy of it will be captured and sent across, okay? So it doesn't mean that whenever a redo is generated here, it should be generated twice, okay? So, and I think the log writer cannot cross the network. It's the one to capture and to write across. So there's still two options. Either the RFS can write to the stand archive, or it can write to the standby redo log. So you say something, switch over. Okay, I want somebody to throw more light on it. But that one also makes sense. I want one of you to throw more light on the switchover rule.
Okay, so I just have a little question here. So the RFS, it writes to the standby redo logs, and then the redo logs writes to the archive log. So I think, in my opinion,
the
archive redo logs.
What writes there? What writes
like
here?
The information from the standby redo logs goes down to the archive logs.
Which process, right?
Is it the RACO?
How do you call it?
Remove fetch server.
How do you call this process?
Archive.
The archive process.
Archive.
Okay.
Okay, now ask your question, please.
Yeah, so no, I wanted to know, so that's what that is the process that it takes, right? So I'm thinking that the standby redo logs will be faster than if we don't have the archive redo logs, because if we have the archive redo logs, then I think
okay. So you will always have the archive redo log, okay? This one, you will always have it. Does it make sense?
mm-hmm.
But you said right, it will be faster. Why will that be faster? Now let's go deeper. It will be faster, you are right. That's the answer. Well, that's one of the answers. Why? Why do you think it will be faster?
Real time, it applies, it's like real time.
Okay, throw more light. What do you mean by real time?
So as soon as I guess it's the same as soon as the redo log buffers is gotten from the primary database, it is passed on to the standby redo log. So I think the real time, I think it's just really faster. It's like, it's synchronizes, it's always in sync.
For sure it's faster, okay? But I wanted to know, I wanted more detail why it will be faster. You are right. It will be more faster than if the MRP has to read from okay? So why would that be faster? Why? First one to try on that.
Sir.
Yes.
So I think it will be faster because why this process, the MRP is waiting for the redo logs to be archived. I think why the standby redo is there, generated from this primary database. The MRP will just apply the standby redo logs to the standby database instead of waiting for the redo logs to be archived.
Very good. You're right. You're right. 100% right. Yes, definitely. You guys know the archiving process, the archiving procedure. You guys know that whenever, before something is written to the archive redo logs, the redo log group should be active. So if the RFS is writing here sequentially, and the group, the redo log group, the standby redo log group is not filled yet, it won't be written to the archive. So one is current. So it has to be filled, to be active before the archival process can write it. So that means the MRP process has to wait till it becomes active before the MRP can pick up the redo log from here. But if you enable real-time apply, it's something you have to enable. By default, it's not real-time apply. If you enable real-time apply, as soon as the RFS writes here, the MRP also come and pick from here. So the MRP will not need to wait till the archive, the redo log are written to the archive redo log file. And it depends now. Enabling the real-time apply, it depends on how you are starting the MRP or how you are creating the MRP. So you can create the MRP to be real-time apply, or you can create the MRP to be reading from the archive redo log. So by default, the MRP will be reading from the archive redo log by default. And it will be a parameter like this. After database, recover, manage, standby, disconnect from session. So when some of you will be configuring data guide, if you issue this command, you are asking the MRP to be reading from the archive. Maybe slower. Maybe for you, you see that as faster, but it'll be a bit slower. But if you want to be real-time apply, let me type the command as well for you so that let me show you how it will differ. Okay. in class as well. Let me show you the command of real-time apply, the way you'll be starting the MRP. Now you see, if you pay attention to the difference between the two commands, see, this is the first command up here. This is the second one down here. You see here that it disconnects from session. Database, recover manage, standby database, disconnect from session. Here, database, recover manage, standby database using current log file. By doing this, you are enabling real-time apply on a physical standby. So that means you're asking the MRP to be reading straight on the current standby Hudo logs. But here, you're asking the MRP to be reading from the archive Hudo. Does it make sense?
It does.
Yes, it does. Please, I have a question. Please, can we go back to the diagram for a second? So, for instance, if we do not have the standby redo logs, like what is the process going to be? Is there going to be any redo logs involved in there? I guess just the
redo log is still existing. They did not display the redo log. The standby still have its own set of redo logs somewhere here.
Okay.
The standby still have its own redo logs. So it's not. There's no relationship between the online redo log of the standby and the standby redo log.
So in that case, like the information we'll get from the RFS to the original redo logs before going to the archive redo logs.
No, never. This standby redo log, I can even tell you, it's even mandatory for you to have this. And you will have more benefit of this standby redo logs if you also configure it on the primary side. Why am I saying that? Because they will help for switchover. Why do we say it's important for switchover? Because of this, you can perform switchover. But if you don't configure this on the primary, you cannot switch back or you cannot fail back because they are useful for switchover or failover operation.
By switchover, do you mean like role switch?
No, switchover, failover. Okay, I will explain it down further further down. But switchover is something you yourself, the DBA, you decide to issue some command to redirect some users from the primary to the standby. So let's assume that on a server, you have some maintenance activities. Maybe you have a deployment that has to be performed on the server, or maybe you have some changes that are applied on the primary database and need the database to be bounced. Okay, so because you don't want, users to maybe to bounce the database will take longer, or maybe the maintenance activity will take longer. So you may need to redirect all the application users manually from the primary to the standby while you are doing your maintenance on the database. For that activity, switch over because you are doing it on purpose. You decided to redirect manually or using broker or using OEM transaction from the primary to the standby. Okay, so you are switching transaction from one location to another one. In that scenario now, when you move those transactions from the primary to the standby, this one will become the new primary and this one will become the new standby. So you are changing the role of the data gap configuration manually yourself. Does it make sense what I just said?
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah, so there are some commands. I think it's part of the assignment. Okay, so you are changing the role because of any maintenance activity. But now the other one I will talk about failover. For failover can also be done manually. Okay, but in that scenario, most of the time we do failover whenever we are doing our GR testing or anything else. But failover most of the time, you will hear it is when maybe it was not planned. Okay, it was an unplanned scenario. Maybe like that, just like that, a server crashes, or maybe a database goes down, the database hangs, anything, something fell here, you were not prepared for it, okay, an outage, then automatically you can configure in such a way that automatically Oracle will redirect transaction, or automatically Oracle will switch the roles. In that scenario, most of the time, failover is unplanned, while switchover is planned. So they are doing the same thing, but the difference is that one is planned, another one is unplanned. And it makes sense.
Yes, sir, it makes sense, but I don't know, during the event of failover, how are we going to mount our database to be standby?
Oracle will do that automatically if you enable automatic failover.
But you said that if the server crashes, right? So if your primary server goes down, how would you be able to mount the database and to put it on as a standby database?
Very good. We have a tool called DataGuard Broker that we configure on the primary server, on the standby server. And in a real environment, we have another tool called the DataGuard Observer. The observer resides on his own server. So the observer observes the primary and the standby. So if the primary fails, the observer will ask the broker to perform a failover automatically. Let me take an example. Let's assume I have my primary here, primary server. And I have the standby server. We have other servers, okay? SMTP, whatever, for mailing system. And I have a server here, the observer. It's something you configure on a separate server. So on the primary server, you have the primary database, and you have a standby on the standby server. But now you have a broker here. You also have a broker here. So this broker helps to monitor the primary. This one helps to monitor, and the broker talk to each other. And the broker also communicate with the observer. So it means that if anything happens to this server, the observer will notify the broker, and the broker can notify you as well through a ticket or whatever, or OEM. Same thing, if there's this server crashes, because the server crashed, okay, that means the database will go down. And because the database went down, the observer is here to observe anything that's happening on any of the server. So once it goes down, automatically this observer will notify this broker to initiate failover, role switch. So automatically the broker will switch the role. So this one will become the new primary, and this one will become a new standby. Automatically, if you set it up, you set it to be automatic. But if you set it to be manual, you may need to log in and do that for yourself manually. That means you may need to log in here to this broker and just issue failover to manually yourself. But if you do it, you want it to happen automatically, you need to set up a parameter called fast start failover. And automatically, when you set this parameter, automatically the observer will ask the broker to initiate the failover for you. So you don't have to take any action. Automatically it's done. I don't know if it makes sense what I just said.
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
Any other question?
So sir, I still don't get it. Are you telling me that the broker will be able to mount the failed server?
Whenever you have a role switch, it holds or mount it, that means to bring it back up?
Yes.
No. You now, whenever a failover occur, and this one become the new primary, one is still down. So right. Now you the GBA or what, okay, and your team, you try to bring this one up. That is not the role of the broker. The broker is not here to fix your physical issues. It's just there to make sure that because the database is down here, application user can be redirected. We can have a whole switch so that application user will be able to connect to the other database that's available. That's what the broker will do. But now you, the GBA, you come and figure out what happened here. You fix this server. You fix this one now. And once you are done repairing and repairing this server and you bring back the database up, you perform a switch back manually now. Now perform a switch over. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, it makes sense now. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Another question? All right, so I think last class we talked about, this type of standby. Any question regarding this? Before I proceed, any question regarding the type of standby?
Actually, yeah. So please, can you tell us again the difference between the active and the physical? So I know they are both not read-write. But I didn't quite get the difference between the two.
Sure. Let me take it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So the physical standby, as I said, is the production, block to block. That's the same thing for active. So block to block copy. That means whatever you found in the production server, if you're using physical standby, you will find the same thing. If you're using active, you will find the same thing. Now, the physical is mount stage. This is the first difference now. Open in mount stage, while the active is open in read only. Now, let me give you another clarification. This physical standby, give me 1 second, please. Okay, this physical standby will be open in read only as the active. But what happened is, the physical standby normally, right, for the MRP to apply the redo, to the physical standby, it has to be in mount stage. Yeah. And if you open it in read-only mode, you should stop the MRP from running. If you are using physical standby, you should stop the MRP from running if you are trying to open this one in read-only mode. It means that once this one will be in read-only mode, the MRP is no longer working to ensure that in that scenario, the production and the standby will stop being in sync. But now, with the active is open in read-only, and the MRP is working in the background to apply redo to the standby. So it's now that this one, even though it's open in read-only, the MRP is applying the lock in the background. But this one, if you open in read-only mode, you should make sure you stop your MRP. Now, let me tell you something. This one is not free. So if you decide to use active standby, active data guide, okay, it means you have to pay an additional license, Oracle, just for that feature. You give additional money, okay, to be able to use active data guide. Not just because it's open in read-only and the synchronization is still taking place, but also because it comes with new features. Some features I'm aware of on 12c. For instance, we have automatic block detection and resolution. If a block is corrupted, automatically it will detect and resolve it for you. You having to come and act on it. That is a benefit of active data guard. Also, it can also help you for fast incremental Arman backup. You can use incremental, okay, using Arman. You can also use something called FastSync. FastSync is something available on 12c onward, okay? And FastSync, sorry, I'm working in parallel. So FastSync is basically, it helps you to speed up the shipping process, the lock shipping process. What do I mean by that? FastSync helps you to speed up this operation. Whenever the primary and the standby, whenever the distance between the primary server and standby server is very, very huge. Let's assume the primary in USA, the standby is in South Africa. The distance is quite long. So we can have some delay, some latency whenever we are shipping a log. So on Reactive, you can configure is a fast sync instance. So it's an instance that you can configure close to the primary server, not close to the primary server. And that instance is a special type of instance, okay, able to ship data way faster from the primary to the standby, more faster than if you were not using it. So it's just there to speed up the shipping process so that you don't have a lot of delay. Okay? So that is a feature that comes with Active. And if it makes sense. So this one comes with features, with benefit, okay? Blockchain tracking for incremental backup, fast sync, automatic block detection and resolution, and also it's open in read-only mode. So that means some SQL statements that are performing select statement, if somebody is just trying to query without having to update, you can redirect those SQL statements to the active standby. But the physical standby is mounted. So it's just for mainly backup. It cannot be open. You can open in read-only mode, but it will not function as an active because once you open this one in read-only mode, the MRP should be down. So that means the MRP should stop functioning. If you are stubborn and you decide to put it in read-only and you make the MRP to run, that means you are already using active on this one. So if you put it in read-only and you make the MRP to run, that means you are actually using active. The day Oracle will catch you, right? You will pay all that money from the day you now. Does it make sense? So you can do it even here in Frontier, okay? Maybe we will not track you over, but because how do we catch companies when they are raising service requests? Maybe they have some issues, they contact Oracle. Oracle will ask you your license. If you don't have a license, you will pay for that because you are using a feature you were not allowed to use. Okay, so that is the difference between active and physical. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. But from your experience, the most widely used is the physical standby, right?
Actually, in Oracle, before we were using physical, but now we are using active. Okay.
Okay.
So it depends on the company. If some databases they may configure physical, some databases they will configure active if they have money to pay for that. Just because the benefit of active, right? If the application is a very huge application, high load, a lot of GML transaction coming and affecting the performance. Let's assume that that's even one of the solutions to resolve concurrencies in the production database server. That's one of the solutions. If on your server, database server, you are having a lot of concurrency, high concurrency, just because, okay, some transaction has to wait for other transactions to commit, or a very busy environment, most of the time you can redirect read-only. That means those who just want to perform select, you can redirect them to the standby. And other people, you can keep them here, okay? And the other people who want to perform their select statement, because you don't want them to be delayed. You get delayed because of those who are performing GML, you can send them to the standby. And from the standby, they can run their select statement, okay? So it depends. If you have more money for the license, this one is best, way better than this one. But if you don't have licenses, additional money to pay for that, you can keep using your physical standby, okay?
Yes, so when we're going to the production modes now, I don't know if you mentioned it, but do they all cost money, like the different production modes? I know you said the maximum protection is the best one. So would that cost more?
Which one is the best?
Maximum protection?
I never say it's the best. I say it doesn't ensure, it ensures zero data loss, near zero data loss, okay? But I never say it's the best. you always have, there's always a cost for everything.
Okay.
Once you have better production performance, but you may have a bad data guard environment because they may not be in sync at some point. Availability, I also gave benefit and disadvantages. And protection, I also gave disadvantages of protection. I told you guys, if they're not in sync, it will go down. Is it beneficial for you for your production to go down? Is it an advantage for you if the production is not in sync with one of the standby, with at least one of the standby, and the production goes down because of that? I'm not sure, right? So I will not tell you this one is best. It depends on the application. It depends on, the need of the need. So I never said that one is better than the other one. The one ensures more data security and others ensure more database performance. So which one do you choose? Which one does the application need? The environment. Do they want to ensure that the data is always available, the data is always protected, or the one the data should always, or the one the production to always be well performant? It depends on the company. Okay?
Okay.
Question, guys? Why is this thing fell into it? I'm trying to connect to my environment. No question? So we can proceed, right? Right. Good. It's working now. Okay. Good. So I think, okay, I spent all these stuff. Okay. So I will give you some benefit of logical standby. If I tell you now real time or holding upgrade, you will not understand because we haven't worked on upgrade and patching yet. Okay. But I will tell you how beneficial this logical is. I know some environment where you can just convert the physical into logical because of holding upgrade. Once you are done with the upgrade, you convert it back to physical. Okay. So because when we be talking about upgrade, we will say that if you are upgrading the database, the data guard environment, that means the production is on 11G, the standby is on 11G. Okay. And you want to upgrade you should upgrade both primary to 12C and standby to 12C. If you're using a physical standby, I can guarantee you that the entire data guard environment will have downtime. The entire data guard environment. So that means both should be down while you're upgrading. But the logical standby, one can be upgrading while the other one is down. So that means once you're upgrading one, users are accessing the other one. So that means let's assume you are having logical and production. So you will start upgrading the logical standby first. So once you're upgrading this guy, users are here on the production. They are not having any effect. Once you are done upgrading the logical standby, because it's open in read write, you perform a switch over. So you change the role. Now, user will come here and you upgrade the production. So you see now that the downtime people will have will be when they will be switching from the production to the standby. So this one will help you to have near zero downtime for the upgrade. So that is one of the biggest benefit of it. And I think in the interview, when you get to the interview, you should be able to have the high level step of performing that. But I will throw more light on logical standby. That's that type of upgrade. Okay, either me or the group that's supposed to present. Okay, but I will give you a briefing about it. I will talk about it.
Please,
So, yes.
Please, I have a question. So in interviews, do they actually ask you to demonstrate, or you just have to talk about it?
Sometimes some interviews, you will go through the theoretical part, they interview you. That's what some companies are doing now. some companies that have some bad experience with GBAs in the past. Some company, let's assume a company hires a GBA today. The person has been saying good things, theory, but you get to the environment, you don't even know how to type the command. So they start doubting on GBA skills. So I know a lot of companies like that, and I've attended a lot of interviews like that as well. When you have the theoretical part, so you talk, okay, you convince them with the theory, and the next technical part is practical. So they give you a server. They build a server just for you. Or take one of the test servers they have in their environment. They give you access to that. Video on the Zoom or any session they have, they are seeing you and you type command live in front of them. So it's possible, and it's becoming more and more possible now. You guys should start make sure you are familiar with script, you are familiar with command. That means keep on practicing. That's why those who have even script provided by their friend is not bad. Try to understand those script as well. Because when we get to that time, they will ask you how do you check if the data guide is the primary, the standby. Check. How do you check this? How do you start the database? How do you shut down? How do you enable a car flow? The question though, that if you spend 3 months without touching your server, I can guarantee you that you will not even remember how to enable a car block mode. Okay, so it's possible, depending on the interviewer. Okay, but theoretically they might just ask some questions or high-level steps, but they will not go in very detailed when it comes to the full command. Okay, so yeah, that's what I can say about it. All right, does it make sense what I just said, or you wanted something else?
No, that makes perfect sense. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. Okay, anything else before I proceed? Okay, guys. These are data gap processes. I talk about some of them already, even from the diagram you can see. Okay, some of those processes, archival process. We all know the benefit of archival process. We all know the log writer. Okay, we all know the RFS. I talk about the RFS already. Maybe you guys are not really familiar with this. Some of you. And I will say that so we said that data guard in the PowerPoint, we said that data guard can automatically detect and resolve gap. What is a gap? A gap is whenever the production and the standby are not in sync. That means the data you found in the production, okay, is not the same on the standby. Okay, let me use another word. That means the current sequence on the production is not the current sequence on the standby. So that is what it means gap. So there's something missing on the standby. And normally those two processes, we always try to resolve the gap without any GBA action. It's done automatically. But because sometimes they are very slow, or maybe the issue has to be resolved before they continue working, you will come as a GBA and you will resolve the gap yourself. Let's assume that the wallet is corrupted. This process cannot resolve the wallet issue. So a ticket will be sent to you, the GBA. You will go ahead, investigate, resolve the wallet issue. Then automatically these processes will resolve it for you, automatically. So as soon as you just resolve the wallet issue and you start the MRP, if the MRP was down, you will see after 1 or 2 seconds, Oracle is just 1-2 seconds. When you open the MRP, as soon as you just check the MRP status, it's already in sync. So these processes are responsible for automatic gap detection and resolution. Most of the time, log gap goes by networking. Let's assume the network is bad. Okay. For any reason, you have network outage, any network issue. Maybe there's a backup or an export job, a job that was using the network bandwidth, okay? And because of that, it was affecting the log shipping for any reason. The LNS will take more time to write to send to the RFS. You have a gap here, but these processes will make sure that the gap is resolved automatically. How does it work? They work hand by hand, sorry. So the file server and file client, one process works on the standby server and another process works on the primary. Those are processes. So the file server will run on the standby, for instance, and the file client will run on the primary. It means that if the file server that is on the standby detects that there's a gap, the file server will contact the file client that is on the primary, and the file client will tell the archival process to send the missing information to the standby in order to resolve the gap. That's why you see automatic gap resolution here. Because the file server detected, let the file client know, and the file client notify the archival process, and the archival process sends the data to the RFS, and the gap is resolved. That is how they resolve the gap. And you need to set those parameters in your P5. So you will see parameters to set that alter system, set file client, alter system, set file server. They are very, very important for automatic gap detection and resolution. Those are mandatory parameters. If you don't set those parameters, that means you don't want it to happen. And you will not have any benefit of using that feature. So automatic gap detection and resolution done by fetch archive log. And you will see, okay, MRP is the process responsible for applying, okay, archive by default, okay, to the physical standby. So if I'm talking about physical standby or active standby, we all should know that we are dealing with MRP. If I'm talking about logical standby, we are not talking about MRP, we are talking about LSP, okay, LSP process. With the snapshot standby, we don't have that. Maybe I did not throw more light about how this guy works with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think at least I told you guys that the snapshot, okay, helps for most of the time for some testing. So you want to test new patches, you want to test new code, you can test from here. Instead of having to refresh the lower environment, that takes time. You can just convert a physical standby into snapshot and perform your testing. Once you are done performing your testing, you can convert back. Now, how does it work? Because I will just say, oh, convert back, whatever. One of the biggest requirements in order to use snapshot will be for you to have flashback feature enabled. Once you have flashback enabled, we have some command to convert a physical standby into snapshot. You have some steps, few steps. A few steps to convert a physical standby into active standby. Snapshot, sorry. Physical to snapshot. Few steps like this. Few technical steps. So once you do that, once you convert, okay, once you convert, what happens in the background? Oracle will create a restore point. You guys ever heard of a restore point before?
Yes, we've heard about it.
What's the benefit of a restore
Yes.
point? Tell me, please.
It's actually to keep the point in time, like to keep the time when the incident happened.
Please come again, sir, please.
I say it's actually like a restore point register the time which an event happened in the database.
Okay.
So you probably have like an LCN number, or you probably have like a unique number.
Okay.
Where, yeah.
Okay, good. And it has to do what in case there's failure in the future. If let's imagine I create a restore point at 3 p.m. and something happened at 5 p.m. How will the restore point help you? How will that help you?
You
I
actually
think
Flashback.
you can flashback.
You can flash back up to that restore point.
Yeah.
Is it correct?
Yeah, without having this timestamp.
The timestamp or the SCN.
Very good.
Yeah, or S.
Very good. Who used it in the exam?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
It prevented you from coming all the way back, correct?
What do you mean coming all the way? But I don't understand.
Okay. Let's assume I have. I'm just telling you what I did
Okay.
to easily finish the 2B2 exam when I was taking it. Let's imagine I'm actually on, you have 30 questions. And I know that if I fail, I remember if I fail question 27, for instance, I may need to come back all the way to question 4, question 5, and start over because I messed up the control file or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Someone else, like I did, maybe people did like that in the past, I don't know. I will create a restore point when I get to question 24. If I know that I'm sure 100% that whatever I did up to question 24 is good, I will create a restore point there. So that means when I get to question 24, I take a new backup, I create a restore point. If I get to question 27 and messed up anything, I just have to flash back. It will bring me back to question 24. To that restore point. And I just proceed again without having to go all the way back.
Oh, I understand.
That was wise.
I know, right?
Okay, so that's the benefit of the flashback. I wanted to take that example so that you understand what will happen with the snapshot standby. So once you convert physical into snapshot, Oracle will automatically create a restore point for you. Okay, so what happened is the redo will be moving from the production, but they won't be applied to the standby. They will stay here. They will stay on the standby server, okay, but they won't be applied to the standby database. They will stay here. Now, once you convert back the snapshot into physical, Oracle will restore whatever was not applied to the standby, and Oracle will restore it from that restore point. And that is how the synchronization will take place. And it makes sense, what I just said.
Yeah, it does.
All right, so.
Excuse me, guys, can you explain one more time, please? What
I said, right, is in the snapshot standby, Oracle does not apply redo straight to the standby. Oracle doesn't do that. For snapshot standby, Oracle will stop applying redo. Redo will be shipped to the standby, but redo won't be applied to the standby. So what happens is, as soon as you convert a physical standby into snapshot, you create a restore point. You don't do that manually. Oracle will create it for you. Point. Any redo that's coming here will be kept on the standby destination, but they won't be applied. But because that restore point is there, Oracle will know that and can start the restore from that restore point. So let's assume that I converted my physical standby snapshot at 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., as soon as I convert it, Oracle will create a restore point at 3 p.m. Now, I perform my testing up to 5 p.m. Now, at 5 p.m., Oracle, you convert back the snapshot into physical at 5 p.m. That means between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., no data was applied to the standby, okay? Oracle was just keeping the data to the account with the loss. So nothing was applied. Now that you converted the snapshot into physical at 5 p.m., the restore from whatever was missing from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So Oracle will start restoring from that restore point the production and the standby, okay, become in sync.
Thank you, Gaita.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Good. Very good. All right. So I know I did not talk too much about it, but I just wanted to throw more light on how it works in the background. And people want to know, interviewer want to know about it. So if I explain it, because interviewer will ask you about it. I'm not just saying that for fun. That's why I asked you guys first if you know about restore point, so that I don't confuse you. Right. So the LSP is for the logical, as I said, right? Okay. So instead of an MRP, you have the LSP. I'll give you a briefing on DataGuard Broker. You guys have to configure this for the assignment. Okay. I told you that the broker is that tool that can help you to manage the DataGuard environment, to easily manage the DataGuard environment. And the broker always works with the OEM and the OEM is also linked to your SMTP server or to your mailing server. So it means that if something is wrong with the DataGuard environment, the broker will notify your OEM, okay? So that means you can get the alert from OEM, or you can even get a ticket coming from the ticketing system. So this broker helps to easily monitor the DataGuard environment. Okay, I'm not saying that without a broker you cannot. Okay, you can set up some job to do that, but the broker helps you to ease the task. The group that will configure the broker, the group that will present, they will configure the broker, and they will issue some small command in front of us, or I can provide some command. I will throw more light on some details when they do that. So this tool helps you to configure. It can also help you to create a standby. It can also help you to perform switchover, failover. Okay, it can help you to see if there is something wrong in the DataGuard environment. So it's a very, very good tool. And as I told you, right, if you wanted to do automatic failover, you need to configure the observer to perform automatic failover capabilities. So it's very good in monitoring the DataGuard environment. As I told you, right, just one command, just this command to connect, and just this command, there are some few commands. You have show database. You have multiple small commands you issue that day, okay? You issue show database, you put the database you give to the standby on the broker, you put the GB name. I think it can be the GB unique name. You also, if you want to failover, somebody will just issue failover too. We issue this command. So we have multiple commands like that. So it's a very important tool, powerful tool to monitor DataGuard on the command line. But to connect to the DataGuard broker, when you do like this, you are connecting to a new user called SysDataGuard, the administrator of DataGuard. So once you do like, you put a slash, you will connect automatically to SysDataGuard. Starting from 12C, you just have to put slash. You put like this, you connect to DataGuard. If you don't put slash, you are not connected as DataGuard, SysDataGuard. So you may not have some privileges. So in order for you to have DataGuard privilege, DataGuard broker privileges, you need to put this slash. Very important. So yes, look how you configure it and you can play around with that, okay? I think that is one of the questions, one of the questions of the assignment. Very important. I'm not expecting you guys to master it, okay? I just want you guys to do the assignment, and from the assignment, it will help you to easily detect, easily perform failover, switchover, and okay, it's very good. And in the future, even in the interview room, you can keep on playing with that, okay? Really good. I advise you to do that, okay? I advise you because we give you more chances when it comes to answer some technical DataGuard questions regarding broker. Now, I think I already explained switchover, failover, okay? Most of the time, switchover is something based on the maintenance activity. You decide to do a switchover manually. So you are reversing the role, primary and standby. So you are making one of the standby become the new primary, and you are making the primary become the new standby. Maybe because you are doing some maintenance on the system. Okay, you are doing it on purpose. So that means it is planned. The environment is prepared for it. You created a ticket, the application team is notified, they gave their approval already for anything to happen, so they know that they will have a downtime, a couple of seconds. Everybody's prepared of that, okay? So it's way prepared. So that's why we call it planned event, and we call it switchover, okay? And a failover is time, we also simulate failover operation, okay, on purpose as well. Just because of we are doing what we call disaster recovery testing. But normally failover is meant whenever we don't have a planned event. That means for any reason the production crashes, or for any reason we have outage, or for any reason we have any natural disaster that was not planned. In this scenario, we call it failover. So what happened is the same thing is happening, but one is planned, another one is not was not planned. So that means the application team was not notified, people were not prepared, and it happened. In this scenario, you can configure data guard to automatically perform the whole change, or you can do it manually. Okay, it's also possible for you to do manually using the broker or using the command line. So yeah, and it's also something frequently asked in an interview room. I'm wondering why people are coming at this time after missing 2 hours.
Probably the morning guys.
I'm seeing people join. Okay, I hope so. Because 2 hours, okay, maybe you watch videos if you were not in the morning class. All right. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the biggest difference between, okay, both. Okay, and you can see here that failover can result in data lost if you are using a certain protection mode. Let's assume that if failover was not planned, okay, that means we did not have any guarantee that the production and the standby are in sync. There was no guarantee. And because of that, if for instance, I was using maximum performance, okay, and the production and the standby were not in sync, okay, I can have data loss. Does it make sense? I can have data loss because once the user are redirected to the standby, they may not find the same amount of data as it was on the production. Okay, but if it was a switchover I wanted to perform, I will make sure first of all that the primary and the standby are in sync before I perform a switchover. Does it make sense? So one is really planned, another one is not planned. And parameters, you guys will set some parameters, and you guys should understand some of these parameters. Very, very important. Some of these you guys know already, but I will just talk about critical parameters. GB find name convert. If the standby destination, the directory structure, right, is different from the primary directory structure destination. Let's assume on the primary is the data file allocated in ORAData ORCL. On the standby, the directory is not ORAData ORCL. It's maybe ORAData ORCL1. That means the directory name is different. In that scenario, you have to use GB file name convert. I think you guys use this one on GB1 or GB2. I'm duplicate whatever you guys performed before. I'm sure you guys use GB file name convert and lock, I think it was lock file name convert. Is it correct? Can you guys remember those parameters?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm talking to the right people. So good. So you guys already know control file to specify. If you want to change the part of the control file, you can do this. Okay. You want to change the location. Okay. You can put this. But by default, it's already set up. Okay. You don't need to set this one. This one as well. If you want to extend the retention of the control file, you can, by default, it's 7 days. You want to extend it, you can do this. It's not mandatory. Nobody will ask you this one in the interview. I talk about this one. It's mandatory. I already explained file client, file server. Okay, you have to set these two parameters. By setting these two parameters, you are determining where you want the file server process to run and the file client to run. And most of the time, the file server will be on the standby. The file client will be the primary. So that if there's a switchover, the one you specify, the GB unique name you specify here will become the new primary, and the GB unique name you specify will become the new standby. Log account config, very, 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 very important parameter. Very, very important parameter. This parameter is actually what helps you to know all the database involved in the data guard environment. you should configure that. It means that if I issue show parameter lock archive config, if I have 2 standby, 3 standby, whatever, from lock archive config, I will see their GPU unique name. I will know how many standby I have in my data guard environment. The first one will be the primary and the second one standby. Lock archive, there's another critical parameter you should always make mention of. It will give you the destinations of redo. Remember, I told you now you have at least 2 destinations. The first destination of redo is where you guys know the FRA. You guys configure, okay? The second destination is where if you go to the standby. So that means if I have 1 standby, we have only lock archive des _1 and lock archive des _2. So that means lock archive des _1 will be for the primary and lock archive des _2 will be for the standby. And it is from this parameter you will specify the protection mode. This is what determines the protection mode. Let me show you an example. Okay, active data guard on the 12C container. Let me show you this example. You see lock archive config I talk about. You see here that I specify the GPU unique name on the primary and the GPU unique name on the standby. Lock archive dest. Let archive dest 1 will be for the primary, lock archive dest 2 will be for the standby. For the primary, I can see that I specify use GB recovery file dest. Do you know the GB recovery file dest parameter? Who remember this parameter GB recovery file dest?
Me, /data/FRA.
Good, correct. So that means once you set the lock archive dest 1, you are saying that it picks up from the FRA. That's why the archive log will go to the FRA, because you decided to use the FRA. If you don't want the FRA, you specify the directory you want it to go. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I say the lock archive dest _1 will be for the primary. And now the lock archive dest 2 will be for the standby. And you can see here, assume no affirm. That means it's maximum performance. If you work availability, you put what you know here. So that's why I said this parameter is for the standby. It helps you to specify the protection mode. It helps you to, specify the archive destination. Yeah, who asked a question here? Yes?
So I wanted to ask a question. You spoke about the wallet, that the wallet might be corrupt for, and it might cause a sync, right?
What, please?
You when you were talking about processes, yes, you mentioned about when the wallet is corrupt, the database the database might not be in sync.
Correct, yeah.
So I don't know which wallet are you talking about. Are you talking about the password file?
The wallet of the TGE, transparent data encryption. Even the password file, if the password file is corrupted, it will also fail. If the password file is corrupted, or the wallet of transparent data encryption, you guys know. You guys know the wallet, right, of TGE. You remember the wallet and master key of TGE? You guys configure it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we did it.
Okay. In data guard, in real environment, your data will always be encrypted. That means if I have data guard and I have a wallet on the primary, I should also have the same wallet on the standby. You should copy that wallet from the primary and also paste it on the standby. Okay, so that wallet can get corrupted, can be corrupted for any reason. And because of that, it will stop, the MRP will stop working if it's corrupted. That's what I was talking about. Make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. So, I'm just specifying mandatory parameters, okay? Critical one, the one somebody can ask in the interview room. Talk about GB finding convert, very important. Talk about file client file server, very important. Talk about log archive config. Somebody asks you, how will you know how many standby you have in your environment? This is the easiest way of knowing that. Show parameter log archive config, and it will tell you that. Maybe I did not issue the command here, but if you issue show parameter locale config, it will just list you 1, 2. So you can easily know the unique name, and we know which one is the primary, which one is the standby. This one, I just made mention of this, okay? We tell you the archive destination, and it will help you to enable either maximum performance, availability, or protection. This parameter is very important. This one is for the state. On 12C, I'm not sure you need to set this one. On 12C, automatically it's already enabled. But if somebody is doing it on 11G, you may need to set the state to enable. Okay. This one is processes, archive processes you want on the standby. So up to you. You want more processes. By default, I think you have 3. One more processes you can the processes, the archive processes. Remote login password. This one will help users to log into the standby database automatically. So it means what? You will have the primary, you have the standby. If I set remote login to exclusive, it means that any user that was able to log into on the primary will be able to log into the standby server. How does it work? Let's assume that the primary first, and you have to redirect user to the standby. They don't have to go through because they have exclusive privilege on the standby, they can just connect to that. They should not have any other issue. Okay? So by default, you will set it to exclusive. And only those users will be able to connect to that particular database. Okay? So any other user that will not access the primary can also access the standby. If you wanted to share, it means that users from a different database can use that password file. That means if I create a password file is a shared mode, it means that a user can, that password file can be used by more than one database. So that password file can be shared. That means users can access more than one database using that password file. So really rare scenario, you will see this. And none, it's just users, regular users won't be able to access the database. Okay, it's just meant for operating system users. Any operating system user will be able to access only, I'm talking about only operating system users will be able to access the database if you set it to none. So you guys know operating system users, okay? Just whatever those users you know at the OS level, only them will be able to access. But for us, we put exclusive so that any user that were able to access the primary will be able to access the standby. Any sys or non-sys user, we can remotely access the standby database. And this one is also important for automatic, for automatic or manual file management. By this parameter, if you set it to auto, it means that automatically, if I add a data file or a table space on the primary, automatically it will be added to the standby database. So I don't need to go on the standby and issue the same command. But if I set it to manual, I may need to go ahead and do that manually. So I may need to do that on the primary and the standby as well. If I add any data file on the primary, I may also need to go on the standby and add the same. Okay. So this is standby file management. And at some point, you guys will set it to manual, and at some point, you guys will set it to auto. And this is what I said about standby Lula. And see the drawbacks. You can see the benefit when it comes to failover switchover. Okay? So the assignment was a bit here. And because I asked you guys to configure DataGuard using Alman duplicate, I will not recommend, because this one is for the manual. I totally forgot to remove this slide before I share the document with you guys. But this one, it will help you for manual, but I can tell you guys that, please, in an interview room, use Arman active duplicate. So talk about active duplicate, especially if you say that data guard was configured on a big database near 1 terabyte or more than 1 terabyte. Why? Because you cannot, any environment, a real environment, okay, a monitored environment will not allow you to configure manual data guard using manual method. Either they will ask you to configure using Arman duplicate or using OEM cloud control. What is OEM cloud control? Or either they will ask you to use OEM cloud control, which is one of the easiest way of doing it. They don't want errors. They don't want failures, okay? And another benefit, another disadvantage of manual method is that, let's assume the backup you are taking on the primary, okay? Because you will be taking a full backup if you want to do manual method. At some point, you have to take a backup somewhere. Let's see, you have to back up the primary database. Let's imagine you want to take a cold backup of terabyte of databases. That means the backup will be huge as well. Do you think you can easily copy a 1 terabyte data across the network like that in a couple of minutes? No, it will take hours. And I'm not sure they will be patient enough to leave you taking long backup like that. Okay? So that's why I will not recommend you to configure using manual method, even though you saw it here, but to use active duplicate because you guys don't have OEM cloud control. Okay? So I advise you guys to use you can review this. But sometimes in an interview they may ask you, and you can pull up this. But OEM is easy. You will just easily see and click on it. Easy to do that on OEM. Yeah, these are just some real screenshot that somebody took and pasted on Google. Yeah, but easier for you to do that. OEM. But for the assignment, it is Arman duplicate. So please disregard all this. But this parameter will help you to understand. Yeah, each of the parameters help you to understand the meaning of every single step. For instance, you see force logging. Yeah, so that all transaction generating redo will be captured. Because sometimes some people can run some transaction, okay? Some transaction that did not generate redo, like at the end of that SQL, no log. No log. It means that redo will not be generated. Okay, there is a no log option. It means redo won't be generated. Okay. So, and once redo won't be generated, it means that you cannot recover that transaction in case it failed or you cannot track. So, by enabling force logging, every single transaction will generate redo by force. Okay. And our CAF log mode, you guys know that. You guys know, we'll talk about some benefit of the standby. You can read more. Okay. Some parameters, talk about it. So these are just some high-level steps of manual method. And the last part is troubleshooting. Because we all will be having issues. I should expect issues for some of you. So these are just some high-level steps of troubleshooting. Okay. By checking if the production is up and running, by checking if the log shipping service is enabled, log archive state, you check if the if the log shipping is enabled. You will check the ping command if the primary and standby can talk to each other. You will check the sequence on the primary. You will check the sequence on the standby. You will check if the MRP is running. You will check if the sequence on the primary is equal to the sequence on the standby. And that what can validate whether it is in sync. Now, how can you check the sequence on the primary? How can you check the sequence on the standby? On the primary, you can issue, for instance, archive lock list. Okay. Let me take a sample. This is the assignment on non-container. Okay. Let's assume I finished, you complete the configuration. And now you want to make sure whether the primary and the standby are in sync. On the primary, you issue archive lock list. You check the current sequence. You see the number. Go to the standby now. You don't issue archive log on the standby. That's a big mistake people usually do. Never. On the standby, you check, you issue this command, for instance. So from this command, it tells you whether the MRP is up and running or not. And it tells you the current sequence the MRP is actually applying. So you can see here that the MRP is applying the same sequence as it is here on the production. So it means they're in sync. So by using this command, you can see the RFS is running, the MRP is running, and you can see whether the standby and the production are in sync. Okay, so there's also one more command people can use to see any data guard error, if there's any error in the data guard environment. If you're not in the broker, okay? Okay, in the broker, you just issue show configuration, it's easy. But if you're not in the broker, I think there's one command that we can issue like this. And this command can also help you to, to see whether there is an error or not. Okay. So let me send it to you guys on the chat. Some of you may configure it. Any resource you are using, you can find it there. Okay. So yeah, I think for the theoretical part, we are done. These are some issues. I was talking about the wallet, the one I resolved with Oracle, with the Toys database with container. Okay. And that is the error I saw from the broker. I issued the command I told you guys. Verbose is just because I want more output. And I saw this error. So, and when I issued this command, I saw that the MRP was down. What I did was I tried to restart it. If maybe it just went down like that, it was still failing. So what happened is, next thing was just to go to the alert log. And from the alert log, I saw this error from the alert log. Wallet is not open. Background recovery process down. That means the MRP was down. What happened is, I copied, I connected to the standby, and I saw that the wallet was closed using this command. You guys know this command. I confirmed the wallet status, it was closed. What happened is, I shut down the standby, I copied the wallet again from the primary to the standby, and I mounted the standby again, and I saw now the wallet was open, and I started the MRP. As soon as I started the MRP, the file client and file server automatically resolved the gap. So automatically, I saw both data on the production and standby in sync. So this is the one I was talking about, okay? And this one maybe was, no, I did not put it here, but I forgot to put it here. Maybe I was busy. The other one was for backup, okay? Backup was failing because of data guard. I had multiple issues like that, okay? But this one I had maybe some time because I had to type it manually here because I'm using different machines for work. So I had to type it here, okay? For people who may need it in the interview room in the future. So I think I'm done. Any question? No, let me finish this last slide. So this one is just extension. So you may need to know what are some causes of the gap and how to resolve them. Some causes, okay? I give you an example, wallet corrupted, password file corrupted, maybe the MRP goes down. There are multiple causes. Archive log missing, multiple reasons behind. So you need to know, you guys need a scenario on how to detect and resolve, how to tune the data guard environment, how to speed up DataGuard environment. You can speed up using parallel CPU like this. So that means you are speeding up the MRP process like this, for instance. Okay. So there are multiple ways of doing that. You guys need to research. Also, DataGuard 12c new features. You guys need to know that. Maybe I have some of them, but you guys need to know. Talk about the DataGuard Observer. I gave you some little information about it, but you guys need to research about the DataGuard Observer and document. And the first thing, I also talk about it, which is a 12c new feature even. Okay, but you guys need to know how it works. So that is everybody's work. I'm not expecting the group that should present Monday to present on this one again. Everybody should work on this, and everybody should configure, should perform the assignment. If you are just expecting the script from the Monday group, that is unfortunate for you or your group. Okay, so theoretically, we are almost done, and the last part will be to show you resources you may need, you may use on Canvas, because that is our baseline. That is what we rely on. Okay, so high-level stuff of ARMA and duplicate, you can find it here. I know somebody told me in the morning the video is not working. I cannot validate that. I never use it even, so I don't know if it's working or not. So you can click on it and
It's not working right now.
okay, so yeah, maybe you guys are right. If it's not working, go to next. You will see the step he used to perform it. These are the steps. This is on OEM, Enterprise Manager. Okay, so you can, this is on Enterprise Manager, so it may not help you because you don't have Enterprise policy. Okay, 11G, this is Enterprise Cloud Control 11G, but you don't have this. You may need to, to go back to this manual step. I can help you. This one, click on this link, and you will see at least, right? A lot of my past students use this. Okay, it might not give you the exact everything you need. Otherwise, that will be just copy and paste. But oh, what's wrong? But it will give you everything, the concept and the steps. Okay, so you can spend some time, even give you the meaning of each of the parameters. Okay, so you can go there and check that. You see log archive config. You can see what I told you, right? Log archive config. You see that it gives you the primary unique name, standby unique name. Log archive desk will give you everything. So this basically is very important documentation. I read it, it was very good. A lot of good steps, a lot of good script. So you can use this. And additionally, you can also use Google or any other resource. That will really help you. But my data guide is not done on 11G. All my assignment will be done on 12C. Okay, so I don't want anything on 11G. Everything should be 12C. Okay, so and yeah, so you can use this one as a good resource. Okay, it's very, very useful. So you can use this. And Google, if you are confused somewhere, Google can help you. Learn how to Google now, so that in an environment you don't struggle too much. All right, any question? We are done for today.
So why is it so important for us to run our primary on flashback mode?
Because with the flashback, okay, you said configure the flashback mode?
Yes.
No, flashback is not mandatory for you, but flashback is mandatory when maybe you are trying to configure something, you fail, and you want to come back easily. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you on that. Flashback, by default, right? You all know that you don't need to enable flashback in order to flashback a table, right?
Yes.
You all know that, right?
Sure.
Okay. You are enabling flashback because you may need to flashback an entire database. But if somebody wants to flashback a table, you don't need it to be enabled. By default, it's already enabled for any database. So if you see a place where flashback is enabled, I will tell you guys that on the next project, it's mandatory for it to be enabled there. Okay, but data guard is not mandatory. You may configure data guard with or without flashback, but it's a good practice because if something happens, you just easily flash back to the previous point, the previous restore point, and you're good. Okay, but it's not mandatory. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Questions, guys?
So, sir, what's the difference between the standby redo and the distance and the normal redo?
The standby redo is configured only for the data guard environment. If you don't have data guard, you never have standby redo. The RFS will write only to the standby redo. The RFS will never write to the regular online redo. So it is meant, it's dedicated only to the data guard environment. Does it make sense? But they function the same way. Same thing happens. You have current, active, inactive. Oh, I almost forgot. Questions for next session. Why do we need 4 standby redo groups? I give the same assignment for the morning class. Why do we need 4 standby redo groups? Because even if you see on any of my steps somewhere, I created 4. We see how to create a standby redo group. Let me check. I don't know if I have it here. Why are people coming at this time? I don't understand. Okay, where is that?
So the 4, is that going to be only on the standby database or?
Only standby redo group, not online redo group, standby redo group. You see here, for instance, let me see, what is that? No, it might not be this one. Container, let me see. 1, this is how you create standby redo. Add standby. 1 standby redo group, 2, 3, 4. What is the benefit of the 4th one? Everybody, I want the answer by Wednesday. The benefit of the 4th one. It's not mandatory, okay? But just tell me the benefit of the 4th one. Very important. Okay, any question? Another question?
Do we still have to sit and wait for Prof to get here?
He told me at 8 p.m. because, you know, he's having class with, I think, I don't know, if GB1 or GB2, either of them. He told me at 8 p.m. she'll be here. So unless you guys don't have questions, I will just, you know, and just maybe you can wait. Those who can wait and wait to be good. But if you have any concern, you can raise your concern. Always good. I can just log out or make myself do whatever I'm doing while you guys are discussing with him. So
Please, Gaetan, I have a question. Can you take it again about the restore point, please? I didn't get that one well.
Do you know the SCN? Do you know the SCN? Do you know the?
Yeah.
Have you ever restored using the SCN or point in time?
Yes.
Or timestamp? Sorry. Okay, that is the same thing. So restore point is it mostly go with the flashback. So the restore point, you can easily bring back a database up to that restore point. So if I have flashback, for instance, and I am willing to upgrade the database from 11G to 12C, and I know that the upgrade can fail anytime. Okay, so what will happen is I can create a restore point before the upgrade, so that once I upgrade, in case anything happens affecting the database, I can just easily flash back up to that restore point. So I can bring my database up to that point. Okay, so the restore point is just there for recovery purpose, or rollback purpose, sorry. Okay, that's for rollback. But for it to work, again, you need a flashback logs to be available, and you need the backups to be available. Okay, without backup, you can't do anything.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any question?
I
Yes,
do have a question about the restore point. Does it have any retention policy? The restore point?
You guys know the default retention policy of undo?
15 minutes.
How many? What is the default retention policy of undo?
15 minutes.
Really?
It's not?
Which parameter do you guys set for the undo retention in the exam?
We use one. I'm sure it's 130 or 190. 190 seconds.
I know, you guys should check that, okay? You guys remember the G4 one. What's the G4 one before you change it? You guys should type it, check it, right? So that is how long the undo can be kept. Okay? So if you use the G4 one, if you are creating a normal restore point, you will rely on that one. But if you want, and you guys learn that with the undo retention, the regular undo retention, if I create a restore point, if more space is needed from the undo table space, even though the undo has not yet passed the retention policy, it can be overwritten. You guys learned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be overwritten even if the retention policy is not passed yet, and there is more space needed from the undo table space. The current undo can be overwritten. But if you decide to create a guaranteed restore point, with a guaranteed restore point now, you enforce the retention policy. So it means that if the undo table space maybe is full and an undo wants to come, it won't be able to override the existing one till expire. So everything goes along with the undo retention. So you guys should know the G4. I think the G4 is 5
minutes
or 1440. I think something 1440 seconds. How many minutes is it?
5 minutes.
Let me check. You guys are lying to me, right?
Is it not 900 seconds?
It's 900.
Yeah, 900.
900.
15 minutes.
That's
So,
15
yeah,
minutes.
it's 15 minutes. Yeah.
900 seconds.
I was like,
so what here?
900. Okay. Yeah. 900 seconds. I think. Let me check it from 12C different. You see? It's different. This is the one I know on 12C. Okay. So it varies across version. On 11G is 900, on 12C is 300. 5 minutes. Okay. So that means if the undo retention is, for instance, 300 seconds or 5 minutes, it means that if I have an undo data that is stored in the undo table space and there's more space needed, okay, and maybe another undo is coming, and another undo is coming, if more space is needed, okay, the old undo can be overwritten. So this one is not enforced when you have the regular restore point. But if I use the guaranteed restore point and I have a retention policy of 300 seconds, it means that every undo that is on that undo table space will stay up to the 300 seconds. Even if you don't have space, it will stay there. You will have an error. Okay? Which error can we have?
Snapshot too old.
Snapshot too old. Okay. So because this one could not be overwritten. Okay. And That's how it works most of the time. So guarantee restore point by default that the undo, if you are using a regular restore point, it might not be enforced. But if you are using a guarantee restore point, that undo will stay there, will persist. And it's even one of the things that caused space to get filled in Oracle multiple times for us. Because what? Most of the time we usually upgrade our database from 11G to 12C. To upgrade it, we had to create a guarantee restore point. Okay? So that in case the upgrade failed, right, we can hold back. Now what happened is that guarantee restore point was created on November 2019. We forgot that's something that happened on March. Okay, it's quite long now. So it wasn't deleted because when the upgrade is completed successfully and people have performed their test, the application user have performed their test, everything, normally the restore point should be deleted after some time. But because that restore point was still there, undo data was staying there, okay? So it kept getting accumulated. And because of that, we started having space issues on that particular mount point. And because of that space issues, the mount point got filled 100%. And we had a ticket because of that. So whenever you create a guarantee restore point, it's good, but make sure that after whatever you are doing, right after that, make sure you delete that, okay? Because it will not allow undo to be overwritten. Undo will stay there. Okay? Flashback logs, okay? That's what I mean, flashback logs, okay? Basically, flashback logs will stay there for a long period of time. Any question? Another question for me? Who is still coming at this time? Immediately. Okay. Let me just leave you in.
Some people's connection is unstable.
Oh,
yeah.
Unstable. Yeah. I think I had access to the same person. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. Any question? Any question for me? Anything before I log out? Okay. Let me notify Mr. Brendan.
Can I have permission to record?
Sure, if you want to, let me give you, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Want to record now?
It's fine. He knows why he wants to record. Maybe he has a message for you. Okay? So, where is it? Is it Mr. Baka, Graham Baka? Or?
It's Baka.
Okay. I'll record, okay?
Yeah. What's the problem? What's the record?
Okay, are you waking up from sleep?
Yes.
So what about our script?
Which script?
The data guard configuration script.
What do you want about the script?
The one you just pull up.
No. I cannot give you the script. Why? If I give you a script, it's not a project, right?
So, see, to transfer that thing using active-based Arman, it's not easy. Oh.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah, that's why if you do on your server, it will not make sense. Good to do across servers. We face some challenge and we help you to understand. So that's why I want you guys to do Arman JPK. It's a bit more tricky. So yeah, so I'm texting Brenda. We join anytime. It's fine. It's available. I'm down. Please join whenever you are free. Okay, let me just say you guys are waiting for him. Okay. Okay. 11, and I'll go to 12C on rack myself here. I will convert a single instance to rack. I will do some other stuff. I will play around with that together before I leave you guys, proceed. Otherwise, you will struggle a lot. I can tell you, you will even give up some concept. And in the interview room, you will run away from that. So, yeah, keep your energy before you get there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, I texted Prof. So when he's ready, we just join. I don't know why on today's videos, the Zoom cannot allow you to automatically enable people to get in the room. Even in the morning class, we had that same issue. It's enabled. You cannot enable it. You cannot disable it. Okay, are we all good?
Actually, last time, I think I remember you saying that, when you have time, you're going to kind of brief us on how to effectively take our certifications.
I gave you the technique, right? I gave the technique we all used. People have been using. So using the past, and that's how, I don't know how people are working now on this stuff, okay? I recently checked, and somebody from class 25 told me some of them don't also have the certification. It depends on how you guys are getting organized. I remember that previous classes, some of them will sit together and work on that thing. Some of them, some students, some will sit and work on that. I remember 2019, even when I was in Texas, some people were here and they work on the OCP. Something very good. They failed. They failed. But they help us, they help others, okay, to get the certification. Don't see in Brontech, don't see somebody certified and think that the person is very good in the topic. No. It's a team. So I encourage you guys to work, do the same. Get together, pick people who are committed either from the morning and evening together and see how you can make some, okay? You can work that. You can set up meetings, physical meeting, because virtual will be a bit difficult. Maybe virtual is also possible virtually on Zoom. And work on it. If you need funds, okay, because you may need to send some candidate. You guys, let me tell you something. Now everything is from home, okay? Let me even tell you how we take certification now. In your house, you connect a TV. Some people are there behind the TV, okay? And they see your laptop, the TV. I'm not talking about the monitor. Because I try to have somebody with a monitor and they get it. The monitor is not a TV. So I'm talking about a real TV. So you need an HDMI cable and a real TV. So you connect the TV to your laptop and the other people can be able to see your laptop. You may need a long HDMI cable so that, they won't be very close from you. And since they can see your question while you're taking your exam, they can be Googling. That is valid for every single certification you see people taking out there. Take advantage of the fact that everything is remote now. Before they ask you to be going now back to the classroom or going back to the centers. That's how it works. So if you want more about the techniques, most recent people who have been doing it, class 25, class 24. I just give you a brief on how it works. I may not be available to show you that live. I don't do that anymore. I don't have time to do that again. That is how it works. So you just need some few people. You send the first candidate, just like that. By Googling, you also take a screenshot of this question. Take a screenshot of this question. Maybe you did not find on Google. You take a screenshot, take a screenshot, take a screenshot. Now you go ahead behind, you type it down, you type it. You build your dump file, and that is what you will be using. And once your dump file is 100% guarantee, because you will send 2 or 3 candidates, you build the best dorm that you can share with the class. And everybody will pass the exam just within 1 or 2 weeks. So it's up to you how you collaborate. If you work as a team or you are selfish or you work individually, it's up to you. So yeah. I don't know if you need more information about this, but that's what I can suggest. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Work with the morning and evening and plan that. It will help the entire class. A 12C OCA certified makes more sense. Company like certifications. Company like that. So up to you guys. Yeah, so right now let me make you the host. Yeah, so that maybe you can let people in once they come. Okay. Another question for me?
Anita?
Okay, guys. So thank you, and let's meet on Wednesday so that I can check how far you are, maybe for an hour or 2. Okay?
Thank you, Gaetan.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of good night.
You
everybody.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Anita?
Yes.
Check your phone, please.
Okay.